is actually so interesting. This is my first experience of riding a bike in the United States.
Wow.
Ever. So yeah, this is I gave my first time try to your podcast.
That is so cool. Well, maybe I'll introduce you. We met very randomly.
Yes, so random.
I think specifically.
How do we meet each other? Is that I sent an email to movesanmateo.com or something.
Yeah, you were really interested in the activities like social activities that the Move San Mateo group was maybe organizing. Yeah. And we met up, you and me, for coffee in downtown San Mateo.
Uh-huh.
And you had, back in Shanghai, did I pronounce that correctly? You had organized the vintage bike ride.
Yeah, that's true. So that was like a long time ago. That's when I worked, sorry. Am I supposed to stop at the stop sign?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Because I was trying to use the mindset of driving a car, so I saw the stop sign, so I automatically think, should I stop here? So that was when I was working for a lifestyle magazine back in China. So that magazine was focusing on Chinese youth lifestyle and all the trend and culture observation. And so there was a time that influenced by the Western tweet run culture. So there are some sort of the information that we saw on internet that in UK or just around the world that people gather wearing vintage costumes or clothing, and they were riding bikes together or just like gathering or hanging out and having fun. And I thought that was really cool. So I wanted to bring that to my city. So somehow I just organized all the resources that we had back in the day, and we hosted that event. So for the first year that we hosted that event, there were more than 100 people show up, and it was a huge buzz for the media because you can't imagine that kind of image. So that was really fun though.
We'll wait for the cars to pass. I'll show you a little trick. All right, here we go.
Okay, I'll follow. It's weird that riding a bike on the street because because I am familiar with the street, but it's on a different perspective today, just on the bike, and it's different feeling.
A network of connected roads that have bike lanes in San Mateo are a total mess.
Oh, tell me about it. Yeah, I mean, I really wish they can do something about it.
Yeah, this is not a bike lane, it's a private property, but it's the safe way to reach downtown from my neighborhood. You have to watch out for big holes in the ground. You know where we are, yeah?
Of course.
Okay.
I walk by this district every day. Me and my husband, we really like doing after dinner, and we just always walk around here.
Yeah.
And also, this is the Caltrain station, and I take Caltrain to the city for my study every week.
Yeah. We can ride along B Street a little bit.
Okay. It's safer there.
Yeah. It is so different experiencing San Mateo on bicycles than
right.
walking or driving.
Yeah, I can't imagine I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
It's also a sort of like a, good, like a goodbye gesture to the city since I'm about to move. So I feel like I want to do, more interesting things to learn about this city that I have lived for so many years. I feel like I don't even know that much about San Francisco. So I'm trying to create this bucket list. So I'm so glad you invited me to do this because this is such a fun way to learn about my community.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're going to be moving to Barcelona where the bicycling is even better than here. I mean, much better than here.
That's what I heard. Oh, it smells so good here.
I know. I know. Oh my God. Well, I'm curious, what kind of culture shock you experienced moving to this community?
Oh, that would definitely just be the landscape of public transportation. Because when I moved here, I didn't know how to drive. I didn't have driver's license. I've never driven in my whole entire life. Because, back at where I came from, we don't really need a car. Do we need to go?
No, we can wait.
Okay.
What?
So I kind of feel like, wow, so I just assumed that if I don't know how to drive, it will be fine because there's gonna be public transportation, there's gonna be Uber, all that. But it's actually more difficult than I thought it would be.
There's some public transport right now.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, I feel like San Mateo is doing better than some, down like South Bay, some places. I feel like here at least they have buses and Caltrain and this downtown. So back in the days, I did a lot of walking. Then I took buses to all the playgrounds with my kids because I was a stay-at-home mom. So I'm pretty familiar with all the street here because I have walked there.
That's an even better speed to experience everything that exists and learn.
Yeah, I still do remember those days. My kid was sleeping in the stroller and I just pushed them walking around to everywhere, and I walked from here to Burlingame and walked back. So just really like anywhere that I can possibly walk to, and I did that until I realized that if I want to go further, if I will want to be able to, be more free, that I really need a driver's license.
Did you meet other people without driver's licenses? Or
Yeah.
rare?
It's actually pretty rare, but I still met some moms who had the same experience with me. That's why I totally felt her. So when I got my driver's license, I offered her, rides all the time because we would, have play days and all that. And I'm just always asking her, hey, do you need a ride? I try to help her out. But a few months later, she got her driver's license too. Because I figured if you want to survive here, you just need that.
Well, I think I know that you worked for Uber when you were living in China, no?
Yeah. So that was back in, I think, 2014 to 2016. I was living in Shanghai and working for Uber as their marketing manager. That was still their early startup stage.
Well, I ask because one way that I know people live without cars is using Uber
Yes,
and Lyft and other taxis before those existed.
yes.
So, did you rely on Uber and Lyft?
Oh yeah, because back in the days, Uber and the other competitor in China, which is called Didi, were really expanding in the market. So we used to take taxis a lot, or just taxis, and also along with the other public transportation like subways. But once they Uber entered in China, and it really took over a lot of market share. So as a Uber employee, and we actually have free credits that we can use every day. So I definitely use that to commute to work. But where I lived was also very, not that far from my office. So I actually walked to my office if I could.
Mm-hmm.
I just really like walking. I think that's the way how you can actually learn about the city. If you drive around, you never really have the deep sense or connection with the community. But if you walk and you really see every corner and pieces of the street and the community, I think that gives you different perspective.
Yeah. We'll keep going straight.
Okay.
There's a nice loop we can do.
Uh-huh.
And it's quieter, less cars. I 100% agree with what you were just saying about how to experience a place or a city, and that walking is the best way. How can you know a city otherwise?
Yeah. And also, I think it's important for the city to provide that kind of access for people to be able to walk everywhere, right? Or bike everywhere, or just take the public transportation.
Where do you see that not being provided?
Do you mean here or there back then?
Maybe
In general?
in general, yeah. Because this is maybe decisions that cities make about, well, public transit is a decision, but there's differing levels of density. There's San Francisco, there's San Mateo, and then there's out in the farmland.
Yeah.
And providing public transit is different in each of those. But
Yeah.
from encouraging or making walking attractive, how would you say maybe Shanghai did a better job of making it attractive than here?
Yeah, I think any big cities like Shanghai or even like New York, you think it's walkable, it's because of the density. Like when you build everything around you, so you are willing to walk everywhere because there's so much to do, there's so much to see. If you need anything to drink, if you're hungry, if you need to buy something, if you need anything, the access of everything is just around you there, right? So, why not walk? And that's how you experience your life there. But when everything is so far away and spread around, it's not, it's hard for you to reach it. Then of course you need a vehicle to save the time and save the efforts, right?
Yeah.
So I think the challenge is definitely related to the density here, and you can't really compare here San Mateo to cities like Shanghai because it's just different size, right? But I feel like this San Mateo has really big potential to attract a lot of young people, younger generation, and young families to live here. And it has great downtown. It has very nice neighborhood. I think it's just how we can think of improve the landscapes or the density or the public transportation as a collective effort to make it more livable. that just, that actually is related to a lot of topics, which I'm sure like it can goes on and on because it's about affordable housing, right?
Yeah.
And all that.
What attracted you and your husband to San Mateo?
Back in the days, we were looking to see where we should locate ourselves because when we moved here, he was working for a tech company in Mountain View. I mean, they have offices in the city and Mountain View. So he was actually thinking about just finding a place in Mountain View, but one of his coworkers, which is a young guy, who recommended him about San Mateo because he said if you really want to find a place that is livable and also good for your children and it's also not that expensive, you should check out San Mateo. It's a hidden gem. So we checked it out and then we just resided here and never left. So I enjoyed it.
Well, what were some of the first observations? Can you remember when you looked at apartments or houses and you were traveling around San Mateo? You've been here for years now.
Yeah.
So I can imagine those memories are distant now. But do you remember what your first impressions were?
Yeah. Well, it was definitely, to me, I felt like just compared to where I came from, I just felt like, oh, it's like a sort of suburban style little town. It's quiet and peaceful, and I definitely have seen a lot of young families with kids. So it just gave me that impression that it will be a good place to live with children. It has some sort of sense of the city vibe, which you can get it from the downtown, right? Because it's not a big city, but downtown has so many restaurants and there's like traffic of people coming in here. So I feel like, oh, I still have some sort of access to the city vibe, but also it's not quite like the city, which is messier or like crowded, right? So I feel like it's just perfect place that is in between.
We'll turn down here. Did you think about, are there friends of yours back in Shanghai who, remained in the city with children? Like,
do you mean in Shanghai? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I still have a lot of friends who they were born in Shanghai and they loved living there. And some of them haven't left there and they have children now. So yeah, I see them still living life with children in Shanghai.
Did you mentioned density being an aspect of San Francisco, and that being something maybe less attractive about having children there?
Well,
is that true?
Honestly, me and my husband, we appreciate density. We are not afraid of density, that we don't mind. There are a lot of people around you. There are a lot of neighbors around you. I think the thing about San Francisco specifically is just the city. I mean, first of all, the city is not that even dense to me. I mean, compared to Shanghai, I sometimes like walk on the street there, especially after COVID, and I feel like it's quite empty.
Yeah.
But, and there are other aspects of maybe I would concern about having children there. Sometimes, I don't know, it just doesn't feel that safe to me as a parent. I mean, if we don't have kids, me and my husband, we totally would love to live in the city, having city life experience. but with children, and we figured we would love to stay in San Mateo, which is not far from the city. So we still go to the city from time to time, but our main life is still here.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing I'd love to hear from your experience or learning is how, when you move to such a different new place, mm-hmm. what are some actions or mindset you recommend for building connections with a new place? Mm-hmm. Even if it's even if it's a second language environment, you don't have existing friends or family. Mm-hmm. What are some tips? You were about to do this again.
Oh yeah,
and I'm wondering what you'll do to jumpstart your community in mm-hmm. Barcelona.
Yeah, I think I just feel like, first of all, don't assume that, it's gonna be challenging, that you need to fit in here. Because my experience tells me that actually we're just all humans and we love connections to each other. And sometimes you can just be a little bit curious and address some random conversations without, being afraid of, how people think of you, or, about your background, or you don't really know them, or you don't really know about this place. You are so new, you know nothing about here. It's okay, and it's just a fun learning experience for you, and also for them, it's a fun learning experience for them to learn about you. So I would definitely encourage people, try everything online, offline, just find the group of people that you think you guys have some common ground or common interests. Such as, I found you because I was interested in riding bikes or just like the public transportation advocacy. So I searched online and I found this Moves San Mateo organization, and I decided to reach out. So just don't hesitate to reach out. And actually a lot of my friends that I made for the first year, when I moved here, was just those parents that I met in the park randomly. Like we just started talking to each other and having each other phone numbers, and we just just continue that conversation and maintain that friendship. So yeah, I think it's the same. Like wherever you go, I think you just be open-minded and just talk to people, just talk.
Do you think that you're extroverted? I say that because I think a lot of people...
Do you think I am?
I would say more than average, definitely. I think a lot of people, especially now that there's so much online entertainment from your phone, mm-hmm. that it's very easy for people to move into a new neighborhood and fail to
talking to your neighbors.
Trading phone numbers, scheduling a time to meet up, and
I definitely see, especially with the social media nowadays, and also I feel like in general, because people live far away from each other in the Bay Area, right? Like a lot of my friends, they live in, South Bay, or we don't really get to see each other that often. You definitely have to make extra effort to make that happen. But still, I feel like you just really need to make efforts, because I thought I was extrovert and I believed in there for quite a long time. But as I entered my 40s And I start like realizing that I feel like I sometimes actually was, kind of like introvert in some way if I'm in the group of people who don't necessarily share the same interests with me. I can be very quiet, or I don't even know how to talk about, because I think it has to be something that I'm interested in, so I'm confident and comfortable to talk about. If it's some topic or industry or field that I'm not familiar with, I can just go silent as well.
Yeah. When you and your husband were deciding on a city to move to next, what attracted you to Barcelona?
Oh yeah, we have been actively traveling in Europe in the past few years. So every summer break, when the kids are on the summer breaks, and we would just go travel. And we visited Barcelona, and I really love the city that is so full of art, and just the vibe is very international. It just makes it kind of reminded me of Shanghai in some sense. I don't know why. Just when I was there, and I have a friend who lived there too, and I really loved how that brings me some familiarity, because it's like quite dense. It's like a lot of people there, and you definitely can just walk around with everything in the reach of walking distance, but also the art, the rich art is everywhere. So, and also I think the big effect about that is that Barcelona has the similar weather with here, because I don't want to go to a place that has rainy days or the cold weather. Since I have lived in the Bay Area for so many years, I'm so spoiled by the weather here. So I was trying to see a place that can, have similar weather conditions.
You mentioned how you find it easier to be extroverted around people with your common interests. You mentioned meeting other parents at the parks.
Yeah, just this park. This
park. The one we're in right now.
I spend majority of my time in the first 4 years here. I literally came here every day.
Yeah.
And I spend hours here. So this is like some sort of home to me. And each corner of this park has so much memory of me and my children. That's why it's so devastating for me to see the playground now is in that condition.
Yeah.
It's closed. So did you see that?
Yeah, that's really sad.
And that has been remained closed for a long time, and I don't know when they're gonna fix that.
Yeah, this is one of the big weaknesses of my neighborhood, is that the access to parks is very poor. Walking takes at least 20 minutes to the nearest park. Maybe less, but 20 minutes, that's a lot.
Yeah,
right?
It is a lot.
Especially with a stroller
But do you know that something shocked me as well is that the people here have different sense of the length of time. For example, like if I say, oh, let's meet up, then my friend is in Cupertino or San Jose, and that requires you to drive maybe 30 minutes, right, to meet up, then I would feel like, oh, that is too long, like 30 minutes in the car. But I feel like a lot of people who have lived here so long, or who was born in here, and they were so used to, and they think, oh, it's not that bad, it's not that long. So a lot of things that it feels like too much for me, And to them, it's just a norm, So I kind of feel like
yeah, you're spoiled from Shanghai.
I know, yes.
Like people put up with really a lot.
Yeah, I sometimes hear the stories of my classmates who commute from maybe Sacramento to San Francisco just for a class.
Yeah.
And I was like, how did you do that? And she like, oh, it's not that bad. I just put on some podcasts on the way. And I just like, that's your daily life. And you spend like so many hours to just be on the road and stay in the car.
It's crazy. We'll go back down B Street. So, we should sell our audience on your podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Can you share a bit about what's your podcast about?
Yeah, so I have 3 podcasts. That's why now I actually emerged to be a full-time podcaster. I have a podcast that is in English called Roots and Routes. That's basically it's featuring people's story, like real stories, discovering how the version of you nowadays, how can we reflect on the childhood that you have to influence the you or shape the you today. And I have other 2 podcasts that are in Chinese language, but also it's emerged with some English content. Sometimes when I have to interview somebody who are non-Chinese speakers. So one of them is called Education Minority, which is focusing on parenting and education. That one has been growing a lot, which it has just reached more than 10,000 subscribers on all the platforms. So right now I'm actively updating new episodes on that podcast. And the other one is called Chinese Immigrant Stories, which is featuring Chinese immigrant. That is actually was published. I was co-publishing this with a nonprofit media called ASAM News.
Okay.
They are focusing on Asian American community. So I am conducting this podcast to be part of their content as well. So that's what I'm doing now.
Okay, well, I hope our audience spends some time to check out the podcast in the language that they can maybe understand. Any favorite episode of any of the 3 podcasts you've recorded so far?
Yeah, so I would recommend, if you don't speak Chinese, that's fine. So check out the latest episode that I just uploaded on the the education minority, because in the new episode that I was talking about art education, that I think in Silicon Valley that's kind of part of the piece that is lacking here, or just due to the fact that most of the focus and emphasis is mostly on the STEM curriculums. So I feel like art education is a subject that being underestimated, or people don't really pay attention that much to it.
Yeah.
So I interviewed a art teacher who is from Silicon Valley, and she is my children's teacher, and she also has some teaching experience in China back in the days. So the whole interview was conducted in English, so I think you should be able to listen to that, and I think that one is a very fun one to listen to. I also recorded some of the voice of my children talking about their perspective about art.
Yeah. Well, my favorite question to ask on this podcast that I think we should end with is what is something you would change to improve your neighborhood? Because I know you're departing to a new neighborhood on the other side of Earth. And you have your reasons for moving. I think everyone needs to reflect on whether they're in the neighborhood they really want to be. But what is something you'd improve about your neighborhood today?
Yeah. Well, I would still say that I really wish the city can spend more energy and focus on how to improve the life of families in here in general. Like, I'm not just only talking about like parents like us, like me. It's, you know, the life about the children and the seniors. Because from my perspective, my parents live here too, and I can see like they are seniors, migrants from China, so they don't have a car, they don't know how to drive, and they barely can navigate through the public transportation, and they rely on that to be able to move around. So both of my parents, they are lucky enough, they are still, you know, young enough and active to be able to walk everywhere. So they walk in downtown here everywhere, and if they need to go to see the doctor, and they take the bus, they're like ECR. But still, I feel like how can we improve that to make their life a little bit easier? Because I feel like there are more and more this type of senior migrants. They came here for their children who immigrated here, or they were working here. Oh, that's actually related to one episode that I was talking about in my Chinese immigrant stories. So I do feel them, because I feel like they are some forgotten group that people really don't, you know, pay attention that much, because they are small group and their life just seem like, oh, you know, whatever, you know, you just deal with it, right? But it's really hard for them to be able to make a living here. And also for the children, you know, just things like that, like San Mateo, the Central Park, the playground, like, because that's the only park that is in walking distance to us, and my children grew up in there, and my son voted for the plan that the park is trying to tell us that they are going to build this new playground, and they showed us the plan, and they showed us to the children, and they let the children vote for which plan you like the best, and my son voted, but they never delivered the promise. So my son's like, he's like, what? They haven't built this yet, so why did I vote for? So that voting seemed like doesn't count anymore. So that's just some part that I feel like the children, the old people, and they are not the priority to the city, just to my perspective. And I just want to advocate for them a little bit, like, because for us it's so easy, and we can drive and we can ride a bike, you know, but for them it's much more difficult.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, this is totally fair. Can I ask one more follow-up question?
Yeah.
How is it different in Shanghai? I mean, when things are more dense, there are more people, it's easier to justify money and investment into public amenities. Amenities is a very vague word, but public parks. It's easier to justify public parks in Shanghai than maybe in San Mateo, where it's less dense. So what, do you think American local governments are just bad at managing expectations, or bad at delivering public goods like parks? How do you think San Mateo could get better at the park issue, for example?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that Shanghai is doing better on that sort
specific
of
example
subject, because I don't recall the park environment there, because, you know, when I lived there I didn't have children, so I don't really pay that much attention to the park infrastructure. So I don't know if it's better than here or not, but I just feel like, let's say the public transportation, for example, because of that demand, so the city has been there for so long. So it has been built, like pretty much all the transportation has been built there for such a long time.
Yeah.
And that, if you don't have that, you can't rely on everybody in Shanghai drive because there's so many people.
Yeah.
So that's a must do. But for here, or, because I go to Europe a lot, and I do see their park conditions are much better than here. It's like they really put a lot of thoughts on that, and I think they deeply understand how park impact people's life and impact the communities. Because if you go to all the parks in Europe and you see not just children and young people hang out there too, and they spend a lot of time there just hang out in person, not just online, right? Because like if you think about, I want to hang out with my friends or those youth, and they want to hang out with each other, where do they go? They don't know where to go.
Yeah, here.
But in park, you have the beer garden right in there, and you have the restaurants there, you have everything in there, and they can spend the whole day just in the park, hang out, drinking, do whatever they want to do, right? And also for the children, there's playground, and the parents don't even need to like pack lunch or pack everything they need, because that is my work every single day, because I go everywhere. I have to pack a huge bag of all the supplies for the children, because when you go to a park here, there's nothing around.
There's not even coffee.
There's no
no
coffee
vending
shop.
machines.
Yeah, so like for parents in Europe, like you feel like your life is easier, and you spend longer time outdoor, and you spend longer time, to let the kids play. Because here, once we go to the park play, and okay, it's time, we need to go eat lunch because there's no food here. If I didn't pack any food or cold food, then we have to drive to somewhere to find the restaurant, or we just have to go home and eat. But when you have all that things just already being there, and you can just stay outside the whole day without carrying so much burdens on you, right? And the same, then those old people, like the seniors, and it's easier for them, so they can just gather together and they can hang out. It's just, from social perspective, it's healthier for everybody to enjoy that kind of park environment. So I just feel like that's infecting every day of our life. So, you might say, okay, the park is closed temporarily, but how temporary, to
Years.
you, like, I know, 10 days, it's not that long, but you don't understand, for those stay-at-home parents, they rely on that to survive the whole day with childcare, because where do they go then, and they need that playground to let children burn the energy, and, so because I experienced that, so I understand better. And I feel like the decision makers or the policy makers, I don't know if they really understand the suffer that parents or, these people who are experiencing. Because I wonder how much hours they spend in the park every day.
I think they spend a lot of time at home. I think they spend a lot of time earning money at their job to afford to live in such a low-dense, high-cost place.
I really wonder, because unless you live their life, you live through that life experience, you can understand and you can relate to these people, these citizens. So, that's just my opinion.
That's great. No, I'm excited to have a neighbor who's moving somewhere else. So now I have a broader network to meet people and see people. Maybe the next time we do podcast, it's in Barcelona.
Please come visit. Okay, please come visit. If you ever come, contact me. We should do another bike ride in Barcelona.
I'll bring them on the airplane. So
Oh, really? That's
of course,
cool.
no problem.
But I think it's easy to find bikes in Barcelona too. So.
Yeah, of course. Not the bikes. I meant the cameras.
Oh, cameras. Yes, absolutely.
Well, cool. Lena, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate your wisdom and sharing your experience living here, and I hope our audience checks out her podcast like she suggested, like I suggest. So thanks, Lena.
Thank you.